very, very good.
Just I need the clap
Yeah.
song for the synchro. You need the clap for synchronizing the clapping.
Okay, let me clap. Oh.
Oh,
Wait. No, the microphone is not still on. You need to wait for me. Okay.
Oh, okay, one more clap. Are you ready?
So, I'm ready.
Just continue that nice little conversation. That's nice.
our conversation is a very, very ladies' conversation because it is about morning, about children, about daughter and granny. And you see, we are in different positions.
Yeah.
Because I have granny and you have daughter.
Yeah.
But we have common problems with them. And it is very, very good.
Yeah. And your granddaughter, she's 9 as well?
Isn't it?
Yeah, Johanna is also almost 9.
Yes.
Should be.
But my daughter is 35 already, yes, of course. And we have the common conversation about our girls. But I have any boys.
No boys.
No boys.
Just
no,
the one
yes,
daughter.
only one daughter and one granny, yes.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yes, but it is so,
That's good
you
too.
see,
Yeah.
and maybe it was very, very difficult time in 19th years of 20th century in Ukraine, and not only in Ukraine, and of course there were very little children, and it is so time when there is no any children sometimes.
Okay. So
Yes.
people weren't having as many
Yes, have
children.
known because it was impossible financially.
Okay.
It is.
It's financially.
Yes, of course.
hard.
After the Soviet Union finished, and it was very, very difficult time. It was very difficult time. The time not for all people, but for science and for culture too, because artists must to have bread and butter
Yeah.
to create. But it is not. It is things which they were very, very poor
Yeah.
time. But it was not poor in culture. You see,
Yes.
sometimes it was as at the start of 20th century. It was time of a very, very high level, and sometimes in these poor years there was very, very good things. And the things, very, very good pieces.
Okay.
And you see in these pieces too of this time. And people look for their future in flowers, in their dreams. Because dreams, it is the most human
Yes.
things. It is not for cat, it is not for dogs, it is only human.
Yeah. So then you grew up in this time in Odessa where there were not a lot of children being born. There was not a lot of money coming into Odessa, made it very hard for people to start a family. But nonetheless, there was a great sense of culture and art, and the art scene was thriving. And you got in on this art scene really at the ground level in Odessa. And can you tell me about how you came to start Kadinsky?
My father was a doctor, and you see, it was very, very long tradition of collection of doctors, because some patients were artists and they presented Sometimes he worked, but his salary was very not high, but it was the start of collection.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
So
it is not. Of course, it is not my family from very famous Jews family of doctors in Odessa. Not only in Odessa, because my granny studied in Berlin.
Uh-huh, okay.
Yes, and he was very famous ophthalmologist in Odessa and created his school. But he has a diploma of Berlin University. And you see, I decided to return, maybe soon.
You wrote him?
Yes, but not my family, Jews family, is from Saxony.
Okay, yes.
And it is reason too. But collection, it is not, now it is not collection of my father here. His collection in Odessa. Now this collection was not very large. It was very so artists who lived in Odessa and they were his friends and maybe my friends.
So your father was a doctor, and
Yes.
along with many people in your
Yes.
family, and he really started collecting small and had lots of artist friends, and you grew up in this environment,
Yes.
surrounded by all of this art and these artists. They come to your house, I imagine, and you
Yes.
got to know them and became friends with them as well. So I also understand that you studied art history at
Yes.
university, and you have your doctorate
Yes, history, of course,
and
and archaeological department. It was a very special department because it was not history of Communist Party.
Oh, okay.
You see, of course, I studied the history of Communist Party, but archaeological department it was very free.
Okay.
And it was my dream from childhood to be archaeological. But you see, after some expeditions, I understood that it is only part of history. It is not common history. It is only material history. But we can't say nothing.
Okay.
You see, we can only create history. It is and after department, I decided to be with archaeological some branch, but it was numismatic. Ancient
The
numismatic.
study of
Yes.
of coins.
Yes,
ancient
coins. And of course, now I think about this time, it was very strange time because education in the USSR was very good in math, physics, but not history, because there was no any languages. I studied, of course, ancient Greek language and Latin, of course.
So you speak ancient Greek as
No,
well?
no, it is impossible to speak
Okay.
because it is Dutch language. But I know a lot of from Latin, of course, and you see, it is very good for German.
Okay.
It is not good for English, of course,
Okay.
but it is very easier thing for German. Yes, of course.
So as an archaeologist, you felt that you couldn't really talk about the history of things.
Yes.
You were forced, because of the government at that time, to to only give a certain history that may or may not have been accurate, and so that led to some dissatisfaction with the archaeological
Yes.
department at the
And
university.
it decided to continue the collection, and not only continue, but only to try to go to science of art science,
Okay.
and not only history of art, but always of management.
Okay.
Management, it is dealers, art dealers, because you see, nobody know about this artist if it is not dealers.
Okay.
But it is science of management too. You see, and you know, as I have read about your biography, that you have studied at the Dresden University as a cultural.
Leipzig,
Yes,
actually.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I have read about these facts, and it is very, very nice for me, and it is very interesting for me, because your experience and my real experience, it is maybe different things, or maybe it is common. I don't know.
Yeah, I find it all, very interesting, and having this conversation with you. I really enjoyed being here today to talk with you. And so you started your collection. You had a kind of a shift in careers.
Yes.
And how old were you when you started Kandinsky? You extended your father's collection, and you studied art management. And so how old were you when you chose
see,
to do this?
management, it is because I must have money.
Yeah.
And of course, some things, some pieces from a collection of my father must be sold to buy more new. And you see, I worked only with modern artists, and they were my friends, of course, because I have never buy works which I don't like, if only it is in fashion, and I can sell them very well. Because it is a rule for dealer. If you don't like, you will not sell.
You have to like it
yes,
yourself,
of course,
and you
because
face
sometimes
Yeah.
you see we must not only show picture, but we must tell to our clients what is it and why I bought, and that is you must buy too.
Yeah, you have to love it
Yes,
first,
of course.
otherwise it won't.
Yes,
You have
and
to have
it
taste.
is very, very emotionally, and of course there was, and in other things I have seen very, very different schools from the Soviet Union,
Okay.
and it was very important. The school of Petersburg, of course, it is classical,
Yeah.
but it is Escher, it is another things, of course. But you see, Odessa Schule is very, very interesting because it is French, and I can show to you these impressionism things, because Odessa was built by French architects,
Okay.
and of course French impressionist was very important. But German expression, it is very, very important for Odessa Schule too, but it is 20th century already, and it is so.
Yes, this is
By the way,
very
and
fun.
you see, it is French impressionism.
Okay.
Yes.
Impressionism.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
And but this it is German, and of course, and impressionist. There is very good piece.
Yes, that's very lovely.
Is pointillism.
Yeah.
It is special style.
Yes, and you could see, all of the leaves on
Yes.
this pathway and really
And
feel
yes, and you may be dreaming when you see this path.
Yes.
It is path to your house, to house of your parents, or maybe it is so link of your life.
Yeah, or maybe even a little river. It might
Yes.
not even be a path to walk on, but
And this artist created a lot of these roads,
okay.
and it is his style.
Yes.
And it is maybe in future we will make some program about these paths of Malyshev. And this artist is the artist of Thochebai, Christy, and it is one of the tops Odessa artists, but only of 20th century. But it is 21st century.
Yes.
Another, and it is so.
Popping with color.
Yes, yes.
Right.
But
And spring and
spring always. That is why now it is spring too, and maybe it is so. I decided.
yeah. So you describe Odessa as really being still connected to the West, even when it was under communism.
Yes.
It was still had this very strong connection still to Paris and the city, its sister city to the West, and so maybe it was a bit of a rebel. Was Odessa a bit no? Yeah.
No. Odessa, you see, Odessa is very trade town.
Okay.
It is only trade, and it was even in the Soviet Union, and it was the one of the city in the Soviet Union where it was very special cooperatives or something things which were forbidden in other towns. You see, because Odessa was created as trade.
Yeah.
For trade and for traders and for traders of art, and Odessa has very long story of art traders, very important and very famous. It was Diaghilev and it was Kandinsky. Kandinsky was not only painter and created of Bauhaus, but he was dealer. He was very good dealer.
And you admired him, and that's
Yes.
why you named your gallery
Yes, of course,
after him.
because Odessa was his native city. Yes, of course, it
And
was.
yours as well.
Yes.
And so you've had this real connection to him. You were
And Saxony, it is his town too. Not only Dresden, but all Bauhaus.
And so, but you had such a strong connection emotionally
Yes.
to this gallery. This gallery
Yes.
that was really started through your relationship with your father. And so this is very home to you, this gallery. This gallery...
No. You see, gallery, it is a thing which was created by Yuri Akimenko and I. And it is not connected already with a collection of my father. Not.
Oh, okay.
And it is something new because we have very interesting collection of Chinese things.
Okay.
Chinese things, and it was the part of my work in Taiwan
Okay.
and in China. And you see, it is another page of history, because it is so long history that.
Yeah.
But of course, it is not. It is not dealers matters, but also it is exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
We made a lot of exhibitions in very many countries, and you see, exhibition. It is the main thing which we have made. It
Yeah.
is not. It is not only art dealers.
Mm-hmm.
Exhibition. It is the crown of our activity, and exhibition at the Full Moon Gallery. It was some page and some step. I hope in very high so thing, because it is only a result of our activity.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're very passionate about
Yes.
your gallery and about your openings and exhibitions,
Of course.
and this
Of
is
course.
your
Yes, because you see, it is every minute sometimes,
yes.
because it is some business which was not stopped in the USSR. You see, was very strange, but nobody forbidden to sell and to buy pictures.
Yeah.
You
so
see,
there's
it was only
freedom.
one free things, and
Yeah.
now you know that it is one business. It is free. There is no another picture the same.
Yes.
Only one.
Yes. A one of a kind.
Yes.
And then how did you feel when you had to close Kedinsky last February? So it's been a little over a year now since
Yes.
Kedinsky
Yes.
was closed, and you've had to come
It is
to
closed,
Germany.
of course. It is closed because there is no electricity, and it is impossible. There is no energy for all gallery, and it is impossible. It is no another things which must be. And you see, mood of Odessa citizens is very bad. It is not for exhibition, but you see, I can show that I opened the exhibition of my friend in December.
Yeah.
And she worked for a very long time in the famous opera house.
Oh.
And of course, maybe I can show it, and maybe it will be our.
Oh, this is beautiful.
You see our Odessa.
The Semper Opera.
Yes, it is Semper Opera, and you see that Odessa Opera House was built by Semper
So
project.
this is not the Semper Opera.
Yes,
Oh,
it is not.
It is the one in
No,
Odessa.
yes,
Okay.
in Odessa, but you see, it is more larger than Semper Opera, and I have idea to make exhibition in Semper
Oh,
Opera.
that would be beautiful.
Maybe it will be, and you see, it is very famous Potemkin stairs in Odessa. It is very interesting thing,
yes.
because it is very long. There is a lot of
Stairs.
stairs.
Yes, I've seen
Yes,
this before
and
in
it is,
pictures.
it is our very important place, and sometimes we go, sometimes we sit on this set, but this, you see, it is very small, of course, because it is graving too, but it is a monument of Yekaterina.
Okay.
You see, And Yekaterin founded Odessa.
Okay, yeah.
But now there is no monument, but it is, I think it will be only for some time, maybe. It is political things and not for art.
Yeah.
Sometimes political and art, sometimes it is not so very good connection.
Mm-hmm. Do you worry about these monuments in Odessa right now? Do you worry
You see,
bombed
this
or-
monument was not very good because it is not old monument, which was, but it was symbol. It is symbol. We can't say she signed the paper that Odessa must be here.
Okay.
You see, and we can't change history.
Mm-hmm.
I say as historian that it is impossible.
Yeah.
It is reality, and we can like her political or not, but
This is still a part
it
of
is impossible to
a part
change.
of history and a part
And
of the symbol
we
of the
can't
city.
to struggle with the monuments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is not productive.
Okay. So, can you describe a time when the war in Ukraine affected your ability to do business as an art dealer?
Yes. It was time for business, but it was time for teaching. And this teaching was about some business too.
Okay.
This business, art business. And of course it was time of Jewish history at synagogue. And it was 5 years when I have written the textbook because it was new for Odessa, and it is some long story too. And I like this time because I knew a lot of things, not only about Odessa Jewish community, but about Ukrainian communities, a lot of Polish, German, Ashkenazi, and it is a common history of Europe.
And how did the war, the invasion of Russia, affect these communities today in Odessa? The invasion, the current invasion.
Yes,
And how is that affecting these Jewish communities and these art
yes,
communities?
all community now in Berlin.
Everybody's left.
Yes, because it is so situation. It is school, Jewish school, some yeshiva. Yeshiva it is university
Okay.
for men, and all people from Jews who wish to go to Berlin, they can be here now, and it is my wish to be interested.
Okay.
But it is not, you see, I'm not religious. It is only history, but it is history of our Ukraine, it is history of our Europe.
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes I made very special exhibitions of Jewish artists. It was very special part because some of them went to Europe after the revolution, and it was very famous artists, and they became famous French artists. And sometimes they went to Israel, the USA of course, and became very famous too as Leib Meshberg, and it was my friend, very famous artist in the USA too.
Yeah.
And that is his work. Very small, but it is his work. And it is Odessa.
Oh, okay. Is this the ocean? And
Yes. No, it is not ocean. You see, it
the
is.
sea.
No. It is Italian because he lived in Los Angeles
Uh-huh.
and in Italy too. But now it is Italian. It is very, very good. His work.
Yes, it's very pretty.
And he was one of the famous Jews artists, but his Jews, it is not in his work, but it is only landscape. You know that it is impossible to make portraits.
It's impossible
To make portraits.
to make portraits.
Yes, it is one of the
Most difficult.
part of religious. Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, it's not allowed.
Yes, it is so. Only photo. Only photo,
so-
but not because it is the same Muslim tradition.
Okay, I did not realize that. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and I can tell about this problem a lot of history. Maybe it will be interesting for you because there are a lot of American artists who were in two ways. They are artists, but they can't to make portraits.
But they're not allowed to make
You
portraits.
see, and
because of
sometimes Modigliani too, because he was Jews too.
Okay.
And but he go away
Mm-hmm.
from community and became portraits. And
Okay.
man, it is the man from his activity. Yes.
So what are some of the difficulties that artists from Odessa are facing right now? First you said they've mostly relocated to Berlin. And can you talk about some of the difficulties
Yes, of course.
relocating and leaving your home city, and how do you start back over again and build a
No.
clientele?
No. It seems to me we decided to live now here in Dresden, but of course we go to Odessa even every month. Sometimes because it is very, very difficult to, in my age, to forget about my town, because it is very old town and there are a lot of very old buildings, and they connected with my history of my family, and there is building of my granny, there is building of my teacher, there is building of my doctor, and
So your daughter and granddaughter are still
yes,
there?
yes.
And so you have been pendling back and forth
Yes.
between Odessa and Dresden.
Yes, it is in train or in car. Some, yes, it is.
How long of a ride is that? How long does it take?
How long? Oh, it is about 30 hours.
30 hours.
And
So long.
by car and by train, because you see, by car we must night for rest.
Yeah.
That is because it
Can't
is
drive
two.
that far.
Yes, it is 2,000 kilometers, and it is impossible to go without a stop.
And are there any flights going from Dresden to Odessa right now?
Yes, there is flights only from Prague and not to Ukraine. It is impossible now because sky is closed,
Yes.
and only to Chisinau, Moldova. But it is not far from Odessa. It is only 20. It is 100 kilometers.
100 kilometers.
Yes.
Another hour.
But it is sometimes it is not so quickly because there is line on border, and sometimes it can be 6 hours.
Okay.
But in normal it is only 2 hours.
Yeah, but it
Yes.
sounds really
Yes,
difficult.
it is, but it is impossible to bring pictures because you see, Lacoste, it is not for large pictures.
Okay, so you're picking up art from artists still that are still in Odessa,
Yes.
and you're bringing that art back here to Dresden.
Yes,
Is that correct? And then okay, so so what then what then are your hopes for the future of the art scene in Odessa? Do you want to go back and start anew there when the war is over?
I am going to start here, but you see, I'm not think that it seems to me that it will be another art in Odessa, in Ukraine, because these war actions will change everything. And sometimes it is primitive Ukrainian. Primitive can be, sometimes it is very, very contemporary art, but it is not traditional.
Okay.
It seems to me so, but we don't know it will be and when it will be, because it is impossible to say, but I was in art during 30 years, and you see, it was very, very strange things. Sometimes will need only contemporaries, sometimes antiquaire works, antique works, and it is impossible to say, it is changing, it is fashion.
Okay.
It is fashion.
Yeah.
Fashion not only of clients, it is a fashion of architecture.
And do you think that the war is changing the fashion of art
Yes.
in Odessa?
You see, it seems to me that Odessa now is in very, very bad situation in architecture, because there are a lot of very, very high buildings, modern buildings, and there is impossible to see the beach. And you see, sometimes it is impossible to go to beach, because there are borders and borders.
Okay.
And it is horror for every town, and it seems to me maybe something will change, because people will wish to go where they wish.
Yeah.
And see the beach and see the sand and of course the sea, not only this building.
Well, last time we talked, you also talked about how difficult it is for artists who are maybe on the top floor of a building, because they can't really get out of the building if in case of an emergency, and so this can also be difficult for people who are living high up. But there's not really any more fighting over there, but this is probably still difficult when elevators don't work.
Yes.
And when you have to carry everything upstairs, and I don't know how people are keeping their apartments warm right now in Odessa, but I imagine that must be really challenging. But there's still an art community in Odessa that's still creating art. And do you notice a difference in their art now that they're creating? The paintings that they're making, the drawings that they're making, are they doing things differently now? They're having a different experience. I mean, a lot of our experiences come out as creators of art, and so I'm just wondering how the art has changed since the start of this war.
It seems to me that changing will be so that it will be only sea and flowers. But they will be only in some abstract forms or expressive, and only feelings, because it seems to me after a while it will only nature and all.
That is interesting that you say that, because it seems that they the artists don't want to see anything ugly anymore, is what you're saying.
Yes.
They want just something beautiful and serene and peaceful.
Yes.
And I can
It's,
imagine that.
Yes, it
that
seems
seems quite-
that it will be so because now these pictures, these pieces is connected with war, with fire, with it is not art, it is only feelings, it is media, it is as a media.
Yeah.
It is not because all art must be in mind. Not only in
What you see.
eyes, but in mind, and only you can create the chedevre only after minding. Firstly, it can be in mind, and then it can be in canvas. But now all works with wow, with it is only in eye. It is maybe not art, it is so some feelings and all. Feelings, very short feelings. But every man, every lady think about very, very flower future, not about.
Yeah, I can imagine that people would want to emotionally leave that space.
Yes, yes, and of course all art historians, critics now think, what is it? It is only, as I have seen a lot of pictures about Turkish events now, but it is impossible. What? It is not art. It is only as photo, repertoire photo. But repertoire photo can be art too, but in some time, not in this place.
So how do you balance your uncertainty about the future of Odessa with your passion for art dealing and you're not afraid to go back and forth and
Yes.
this seems
It is not so nice, but you see there is very, very good places for artists, for art dealers, Saatchi and other things, and you see sometimes I have some connection with dealers from the USA and designers, architects, and it is so sometimes architect it is the way from all pieces.
okay.
And because they met clients and told them about this decoration or this art which can be, and they can make the project with them. So, but it is way for German too. I have some connection in Dresden with architect bureau too, and it is very good way.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very good, and I have invited them to to Full Moon Gallery too, and sometimes all this engraving, not only this, I will show to you, which is very good because it is for banks, for offices, because it is fantastic. I think that some art will be only fantastic.
Okay,
I
so
like.
you have a lot of hope. You see
Yes.
this as actually maybe even starting, sometimes it takes a crisis, but you see this crisis as potentially really changing the art scene in almost a
Yes.
positive way. So you
Yes.
have a lot of, and I like that. I like that you're very,
Yes.
you're choosing to stay positive about
It
the
seems to
situation.
me that it is so.
And that is a nice thing to hear.
I hope that it will be, and I have experience of this event, because after very, very poor and very, very bad 19th years of 20th century, it will be only flowers.
Okay.
Yes, it is normal, and it is a very good way.
Yeah, and Ukraine is not a stranger to hardships.
Yes.
There's been many crises in the past, and so the feeling. Do you feel that others in Ukraine share your optimism?
Yes,
You do.
some optimism, but it is very, very so middle optimism.
It's middle.
Middle, very, very middle, because you see, we cannot what it will be, but there is a lot of changing, and it seems to me that a lot of changing, it is not now, but maybe these 30 years. A lot of changing, not history, but it is changing in digital yes,
yeah.
life, and you see sometimes not only our children, but also we live in not real life.
Yeah, so it's not just.
And it is very difficult when you are on internet or in real life, and it is not so.
Yeah, it's not just the external challenges of
Yes.
political problems, but also just the digital age that's affecting everybody and changing
But
the
it
world.
is, yes, of course, NeiraNet, and it is art intellect.
Yeah,
Yes,
and AI.
and I'm not sure that artist will be. Maybe NeiraNet will create something, and create, of course. And it is very pity, but I have a lot of things with NeiraNet creation.
AI.
Yes, but you see, now it is not so good. Yes, they are abstractive or very, very reality. It is very strange,
Yeah.
but it is no impressionism and no expression. It is something, but it is so.
It's like a very sophisticated collage.
Yes.
It's not really taking the place of artists, I don't think, at this point.
But we must know that it is impossible life without this intellect. Now it is impossible in medicine, in cosmos.
And, yeah, so we're
In
using
that-
all aspects of
That it is very strange to go without phone from flat.
Yes. So
And sometimes we are afraid to go without. Why?
we used to.
Yes, of course. Because you think that your children not buy control.
Yes. Dr. Glasova, I really appreciate you meeting with me today and talking to me about how you got into the art business and how the war in Ukraine has affected that art business, and then also your discussion about your hopes for the future of Ukraine. It was a really enlightening and enjoyable experience for me, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your questions, because they were very, very mind and very so gentle.
Okay.
And it is very important, because now questions sometimes is not from culture center.
Yeah.
It is very, very strong.
Okay.
And I'm afraid
I
strong
can
question,
understand.
because it is strong answer.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, and it is no free.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice